What's up guys, welcome back to Hibike Unshelved. So AnimeJapan 2026 just wrapped up this last weekend and Hibike Euphonium took over one of the livestream stages to promote the final movement films. So let's do a quick recap of the event and all the news they announced. If you're interested in watching the special stage livestream for yourself, the VOD is still available on the Pony Canyon Anime YouTube channel. I'll leave the link in the description. By the way, if you follow my community posts for this channel, then you already knew this video was coming. I try to announce in advance every time I upload a new video, so if you want to stay up to speed, be sure to check the post tab on the channel or in your subscription feed if you're on mobile. Alright, let's get to the recap. The special stage event for Hibike Euphonium was hosted by the Kitauji Quartet, the voice actors of Kumiko, Reina, Hazuki, and Midori. That is Tomoyo Kurosawa, Chika Anzai, Ayaka Asai, and Moe Toyota. They started off with their introductions and might I just say, it is such a joy to see the four of them together. They have such great banter and they seem so comfortable on that stage. You could really tell they've been doing these stage events together like this for over a decade. I watched a few stage events for other AnimeJapan and none of them had a cast with this kind of rapport and stage presence. I mean, they didn't even have an MC. Usually these kinds of events have an MC to move things along. Anyway, after they did their intros, they talked about the final movement film, which is coming out in less than a month now, and they showed off the Sunrise Festival trailer, which I did a video analysis on a few weeks ago, so if you haven't seen that, go check it out. There was a small chance they would have shown off a new trailer here, but I figured since this movie is coming out in basically 3 weeks, that would be unlikely. And after that, they got into a discussion on all the new stuff in the movie. They were very careful to avoid spoilers, which I thought was very interesting considering this is a compilation film of season 3, so presumably most of the audience should know the story already. Well, I guess except for this guy.
勇気のいる質問だと思うんですけど、ユーフォニアム一回も見たことないけど今日来ちゃったっていう人、勇気がある。おお、よく来たな。いいじゃない。いいじゃない。いいじゃない。どうも拍手が起こった。
この深い沼によく来ましたね。
じゃあそんなあなたに、お、帰ったら全部見てくれるかな？いいとも通じる。いいとも。
And you know what? Props to that person for accompanying their friend to this event. Anyway, yeah, the voice actors were all pretty careful not to reveal anything specific, but they definitely said enough to get me really intrigued. When they got to see the completed film recently, Chika Anzai was apparently shocked just how much new stuff was present. Moe Toyota explained that it's not just new performance scenes, but there's also new story scenes throughout. Tomoyo Kurosawa also said that it's not just newly added scenes, but many of the existing scenes received new extensions and additions too. Also, Moe Toyota adds that just like the previous compilation films, the dialogue has been fully re-recorded as well, so many of the scenes have a kind of a new vibe. She specifically called out a climactic scene with Kumiko and Reina that feels like it's taken on a different atmosphere. Ayaka Asai gave a shout out to the original soundtrack, which like the previous compilation films was newly rearranged for this film, calling it godlike and making the film feel like a completely new work in the UFO series. So yeah, they were all really selling this film hard. It seemed like they were all genuinely blown away by it, but I would take it with a grain of salt. Side note, but I really enjoyed this moment in the stage event when Chika, Moe, and Ayaka are all raving about getting to see the final completed film, but Tomoyo is sadly left out because she apparently had a scheduling conflict on the day of the screening.
あれ本当に正直グループラインに送ろうかと思ったんだけど。
確かにこの感動をね
共有したくて
語り合いたかったんだけど、
そうでも会うしと思って最後までやばかった。
あれ多分なんか最後のあそこがさ一番好きで、
なんかあれ泣けたよね。
あれやばい。あれね一番泣けたんだよ。そうなんだ。
Anyway, after the discussion, in the next segment they stalled for time, as they are often required to do at these kinds of events, with a word game where they had to come up with acrostic poems for some pre-selected UFO words. So, for example, one of the selected words was tuba, so they each had to come up with a unique line starting with each of the Japanese letters that spell out tuba, or chuba, chi-u-u-ba, and the full poem needed to relate to the chosen theme of the challenges of wind ensemble. So Chika said, Moe followed up with, Ayaka said, and Tomoyo capped it off with, Anyway, it wasn't a great segment, and you could tell they were all struggling to come up with unique lines every time. But again, the four of them are such pros, they were able to make the most out of it and ended up being one of the funniest parts of the event.
今日も俺らには滝先生がいる。
最高だな。素晴らしい文だ。
今日も俺らには滝先生がいる。滝先生、そう滝先生だ。
うね。滝先生、そう滝先生だ。滝先生だ。よし、オッケーオッケー。今日も俺らには滝先生がいる。滝先生、そう滝先生だ。滝先生だ。じゃあやっぱり滝先生だ。イエーイ。
After that, they welcomed in the Tubakun mascot and finally got to the news segment, which is what people usually tune into these kinds of shows for. First up, they talked about the Suiso Gaku contest, or the Win Music contest. I believe this is restricted to people in Japan, but if you're in Japan, you can send in a video of you or your band performing music from the UFO anime and potentially receive prizes, including getting your name in the credits of the Final Movement films. Then they announced a new episode of Hibike UFO Radio, which is a podcast the four of them do where they talk about the series. They talked about the movie ticket cards, and then they got to the most interesting announcement for me personally. They revealed the album covers for To Coda, the movie's theme song, and the original soundtrack for the film, which is titled Melody Across the Seasons, which is definitely a reference to Kita Aoji's competition piece from season 3, Hitotose no Uta. But yeah, we got stunning new illustrations of Kumiko and Reina, so I'm very excited to get my hands on these eventually. You can actually pre-order these right now on CD Japan with my link in the description below. The limited edition of Melody Across the Seasons will come in a vinyl-sized jacket, I believe, with a canvas-like texture, which sounds like a pretty cool piece to add to a collection. Since the film is coming out in a few weeks, they also announced some special screening opportunities. Select theaters will be playing the film in 7.1 surround sound, and some will be playing it in Dolby Atmos, both of which are going to make the voice acting and the music feel extra immersive. The cast and crew will also be holding a handful of special screenings where they'll be there in person to greet the audience, which sounds awesome. And yeah, that's basically it. After that, they wrapped up the show, said their thank yous and goodbyes. So yeah, nothing major was really announced at this event. I thought that maybe they would show off a final trailer or a final key visual or something for the Final Movement Part 1. But I guess, it's coming out in like 3 weeks, so I guess they didn't really need to do that. But anyway, before I wrap up this video, there were a few pieces of news they didn't talk about on stage. First up, if you're going to be in Kyoto or Uji anytime between now and the end of June, I believe, both Keihan Railway and JR Japan Railway are putting on a bunch of UFO collaboration events and installations you won't want to miss. I'm actually going to make a separate video breaking it all down very, very soon, so stay tuned for that. But I want to let you know right now that last weekend, they also announced that the Kyoto Tower Hotel will be discontinuing their UFO-themed rooms this September. I had the privilege of staying in one of those rooms last year. I made a whole video about it. Check it out here. But yeah, if you want to stay in one of those rooms, they are only going to exist until the end of this August. So book soon. Anyway, that's going to be it for me. Thank you so much for watching, liking the video, and subscribing to the channel. Stay tuned for the next video on all the UFO collab events and installations in Kyoto and Uji this spring. Have an awesome day. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and let the next piece begin.